So okay, I think instead I'll just kick it off with as far as all right, I guess we'll go into it. But yeah, I guess here we go. I keep thinking of something to start. All right, bear with me. I don't think I'm gonna try and be like all clever about it, any stupid shit. I'm at least gonna start off with the what's going on, everyone. That's probably the best thing to do. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you haven't been here before, then welcome for the first time. And this is a good one to tune in for because we've got an awesome collaboration on our hands. I am accompanied by the one and only. I'll let you introduce yourself.
I'm Eric Thorpe. Hi.
If you haven't by chance checked out Eric's channel, please do so. He's got some fantastic reviews of a lot of similar content as myself. So if you like what I'm reviewing, you'll definitely like what he's got. Just a very different approach and angle, and always enjoy what he's got to be thrown into the mix here. Hence the reason why we got this one going down right now. So what we're taking a look at today is Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead that was just released recently on Netflix. And it's an interesting one, to say the least. I got to start off right off the bat by saying I thought that this was a sequel to Dawn of the Dead, given the fact that he also made that, and it's such a similar title. So hopefully I'm not the only one that was a little bit confused when all of a sudden realized that it has nothing to do with it, apparently. But I guess as far as just initial impressions, man, what would you have to say about it? Just first thoughts.
I mean, it's really fun. I think it's arguably, like, having seen it again since like doing my spoiler-free review, even I think it's arguably maybe just throughout Zack Snyder's most entertaining movie. Nowhere near his best, but just like it's just him kind of giving into like all his kind of tendencies, all his Snyderisms, if you will, and just kind of having fun, I think. And yeah, it's the return to his roots like Dawn of the Dead, but I think it's actually a lot more fun, and you don't have to like take it as seriously as Dawn of the Dead.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, I didn't really feel at any point like I had to take this movie too seriously, though there are points I felt like the movie took itself too seriously. Like there were certain dramatic moments that were squeezed in there that I was kind of like, I don't know where this is coming from, nor do I feel too impacted by it because it was just so shoehorned in there. It's my way of quickly saying, like, believe me, I definitely enjoyed it as well. I had a great time watching it. I am a little bit curious as to see, like the prequel or whatever they mentioned as far as else coming out. I think because they got, if I'm not mistaken, a prequel movie and a prequel anime series, both of them. So at least I'll be down to watch it. Regardless, it was definitely something that was a good time, but I'm one of those people, I'm very like technical and analytical when I'm watching stuff. And as much as I can sit back and definitely enjoy it for what it is, I can't help but point out little flaws when there are some, and there were definitely some throughout this. But at least not to the point where it took away from everything, right? I agree with the fact of what you were saying, a lot of the Snyderisms. I like the way that you're putting it a lot. Please go make sure that you check out Eric's spoiler-free review on his channel. Without trying to give any spoilers of that spoiler-free review, hands down the best thing that you said in there that just had me on the floor laughing was when you called it Snyder porn. This is very much what it feels like to a certain extent.
Yeah, that's just like, I mean, I think you could say that maybe about a few of his movies, but I mean, this one in a way just kind of, I think some of his earlier ones in a way, like even Sucker Punch or something, you could probably call it that, but this one in a way, it almost, some of those earlier ones still don't have that like kind of, I guess, like bloat almost that Army of the Dead has, that I think is very much like you need that for it to be like the full Snyder package. So yeah, I can tell. I think I'm like a bit higher on this one than you, and I think even since my like spoiler free review, I think I've honestly like gone up on it a bit.
Oh, so wait, would you give it more than the 7 out of 10 now?
I think so. I think I'd bump it up by at least like 0.5.
To be honest, at the end of it, if I had to give it a ranking, I've always been kind of like scarce on giving things rankings because almost like how you were saying, like I know my mind can change. Like I could wake up tomorrow and I could think it's the greatest movie in the world, and I could wake up the next day and it's just like, I don't know, no idea what I was thinking. But I wouldn't rank it much lower than you for sure. I'd give it maybe like a 6.5. I guess if I had to throw something out there without making it that officially official. I've only seen it the one time. I'd be very interested to like watch through it again and see if I had, a different level of appreciation for it, because I probably do. Most things that I watch a second time, you very much kind of have that different level of appreciation because you got a new perspective on it.
This is one of the rare Zack Snyder movies, I think, to come out where you feel like it came out like on the first go, and I feel like it's his movie. Like, yeah, I don't feel like we're gonna need a director's cut or anything for this one.
No, I think this is the director's cut. Absolutely. Going into like the story itself, I thought it was a cool, interesting story, but this is where I really started to, my analytical, technical side was just kind of like, what the heck is going on here? Like from the very beginning, I definitely thought it was a little interesting and odd the fact that the guy who is sending them to rob his own place can't give them the code to open the vault that they're going to unlock. Why does that make any sense?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I don't know if I even like quite like almost like at that like clicked in my head the first time I watched it, but then as soon as it was like pointed out to me the second time, I was like, huh, yeah, like well, what's going on here?
The end result was not even for them to actually rob the bank. It was theirs, like, right, he sent that other dude so that he could cut off the zombie queen's head and then take that back, because apparently that's worth way more than what's in the bank, which I guess why wouldn't you just try and get both at that point, since you're already sending them on the mission? Why wouldn't you just send them there to do that in the first place? Like, why wouldn't you just take Batista, say, get a people together or a group of people, and I need you to go kill this zombie queen and give me her decapitated head?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and one thing I was even wondering is like, unless I'm missing something, like why wouldn't they just go and take the money once they knew about this? Like, why did they even need that guy?
That's
Like,
true. Yeah, if they
like
actually succeeded, there's no reason that they had to go back.
he sent Martin with them basically to betray them all. That's like all he gave them, the blueprint and Martin. And like he didn't even it's not like he got them in.
The part that I have an issue with there is he sends one guy, like they couldn't have just taken him out if they didn't want to and then just still then leave with the money. Like this all seems, going back to your point of, they didn't even need to get him the money in the first place. They didn't need to do anything really that he specifically wanted. They could have just taken that, what, 200 million it was, and just flown off. Or actually, I don't know if they could have. That's another part that I have an issue with. When we're being really logical here, that money would have been like a lot of weight. I don't even think they would have been able to actually carry it out of there, let alone for that shitty helicopter to actually fly them all off with all that money. I don't think that was a realistic thing at all.
Yeah, but that's because the guy was setting them up to fail.
Which again just brings it back to, why didn't you just send them there to directly kill the zombie queen? That part, I mean, I could honestly go on about that part like for a long time, because it doesn't make any sense. I don't think there really is a way to kind of like bring some logic into that. And believe me, it's times like that in films that I'm okay to put it to the side. It's not like when I say I have an issue with something like that, all of a sudden I hate the movie. It's just like, you can't really not acknowledge something like that. And you know what else is funny to not acknowledge is that in the blueprints that they gave for the safe, apparently the one thing that was missing from there was the little vent that's on the surface level that you can apparently get down to the vault. That, what's it, Vanderho?
Yeah, I think
I'm at the end.
I'm assuming that maybe was like, I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm not, the way I took that was maybe that after the bomb sort of happened, like maybe that wasn't directly actually going to the vault. Maybe the bomb happened and it protected him, but maybe sort of also blew open a way for him to get out.
I guess maybe that's a very convenient explosion if that's the case, right? To be like, oh yeah, we're just gonna make it so it blows up, so you just happen to now have a way to get out of this unopenable vault, basically.
This is the kind of stuff that like kept me like comfortable with just going like 7 out of 10. And as much as that's sort of what I think, since I did that review, I'm like, I almost want to go higher, but then right now you're like kind of talking me back down.
Sorry. For anyone else, that's watching, don't let this shift your opinion necessarily, right? You watch the movie, you think whatever you want about it's totally fine, but don't try and argue the logic here. So if there's anything that I can't help but throw in along with the whole him escaping from the safe at the end just miraculously, was also the not so effective sacrifice that led to that. Like when Dieter actually pushed him into the vault to do that, number one, it was like, why didn't you also go into the vault, and why did you even push him in the vault? How is that saving him at all? He's now, you're just basically making him wait out his death. He's just gonna have to sit there with a bunch of money he can't use and then just starve to death while a bunch of zombies are raving outside.
Okay, so I agree with you on like one of those 2 points. I think he should have I mean, unless there was for some reason that he had to like be on the outside to, I don't know, lock it from the zombies. I don't know if that's a thing, or so unless there's like some specific reason he needed to be outside, then yeah, I don't know why he didn't kind of just shift a little, go on the inside. But I think as far as pushing him in, yeah, maybe he knew there probably wouldn't be a way out, even though as we said there was. But at the same time, it was like, well, it's like that, or he's immediately killed by zombies. I think he was giving him a chance versus like immediate death.
Which is definitely nice. There's just the thought of like, you're gonna die either way. That's the terrible part. I'm not saying it would be better to get bitten and, made into a zombie or anything, but is it also then better to just be in a vault by yourself until your sanity takes the best of you and you eventually dehydrate and starve to death? And I don't know. I did at least take away this. It was a nice, like, brotherly move. Like how you mentioned before, their relationship was undoubtedly the most effective, I feel like, throughout the movie because of the way it started and eventually like gained some genuine bond between them. And so that part was definitely like heartfelt. The fact that he actually was trying to save him, as ridiculous as the whole situation may have been surrounding it, that was nice to see. And I'm glad at least that for what it's worth that he ended up making it out at the end, even though what about that ending, man? I mean, what did you think as far as how'd you feel when the whole like kind of reveal of him being bitten was made?
I mean, it's hard not to be a bit like, crap. Like, I mean, yeah, that's how the movie ends. He's just like, fuck. It did seem though, like in that moment that he was finding out the first time himself, but it's almost hard to believe that he was finding that out the first time there, because I mean he had like no shirt on, he was like exposed. Like the only reason we didn't see it was because of the camera angles, basically, right, up till that point. So I'm a little surprised he or nobody else saw it. I guess he had like a scarf or something kind of covering it, but like that he didn't see it until then, I'm not sure.
And then also, why was it taking him so long to turn?
Yeah, well, that was another thing. That's why I'm like, maybe he did know, and maybe he thought he was like not turning for whatever reason. But then when he started to get like sick feeling on the plane, then he started to think, oh no, I am going to turn or something. And maybe that's sort of why he looked at the bite again and was like, oh fuck. Maybe he was like fighting it.
Yeah, was it possibly like because of his his physicality, right? Because he was like so in shape. But then I'm thinking, well, Batista was a bit of a beast himself.
I mean,
he'll turn quick.
Yeah, but he got like, I mean, if you want to make that comparison, that like he didn't just get bit. That like the Zeus like just bit a chunk out of his neck.
So does it matter where you get bit as to how fast you turn?
Well, we don't know that. They never really go into those kind of details in this movie. That was a cool opening scene, I gotta say, before the opening credits. Like, I mean, it was kind of like dumb. Nobody was paying attention on the road, like not even the army guys. They just like couldn't see this married couple like that was just having too good of a time.
Yeah, it's like a ridiculous scene to start things with, but it was still entertaining to say the least. And it did kind of give a vibe of like something doesn't seem entirely normal zombie-ish here, like, which is what I did appreciate. It did seem like a very different take, and it's actually something that, yeah, I did kind of want to start to get into, because there's like two things, and I don't know which is the best to start with. There's apparently rumors, or not even rumors, I guess like on IMDb, I read that you can apparently see two UFOs in the Area 51 place that they're at, like in the beginning. Yeah, I didn't see them, so I'm trying to go back and potentially, look out for that. But it's one of those where as soon as I read that, it's like, okay, so is this alien related? But this is the thing that I've probably been most curious to ask you about since we started this whole thing. Robot zombies, bro?
Robot zombies?
Did you see the robot zombies?
Okay, man, I feel like I'm like, no, I didn't.
I'm almost so glad that I was kind of hoping that you did know, but it's almost cool that you don't. Dude, I'm not joking. I only saw one, but apparently Zack Snyder confirms that there are a couple in there. There is one time when they're I think it's just like in a casino, and someone is shooting a bunch of zombies, and it's very discreet. Like, I had to rewind it once or twice just to make sure. But there's a point where one of them gets shot, and when he gets shot in the face, you see basically a mechanical skeleton underneath with like a Terminator looking eye or whatever, that like, and then he goes down, and like you see like sparks come out too a little bit, and it's like, when I first saw it, I remember I was watching it with my girlfriend. She was like, what was that? I was like, yep, hold on, I'm rewinding it. And then I was like, dude, that's a robot. And then I'm like, wait a second. So are all of them robots? But they clearly aren't. So what the fuck?
Well, oh man, I feel bad that I didn't catch that now. That was like, that's a whole new, that's a whole new avenue to, to go down. I didn't see the UFOs either, but I was suspecting just the way they set it up. I assumed, okay, this is like the way they set up the zombie. It does seem like it was almost man-made or something, like maybe, but like maybe since it was Area 51, maybe they had some like kind of alien virus or something. They were like maybe testing on people or something.
Yeah.
And that's how Zeus came to be. So I already thought I was like thinking ahead with how the zombies could be like alien related or something. And then you go throw robot zombies at me and I'm like, oh man, what? I saw this movie twice and I missed that.
I believe it's an hour and like 13 minutes in, somewhere between an hour and 11 minutes, an hour 13 minutes. I'm going to say that is my guess. And I'm pretty sure that that's pretty correct. Just fast forward to that part and just watch that one part. But like I said, there was an interview apparently with Zack Snyder where he was saying, he mentioned that if you pay close enough attention, there's multiple times in the movie where you can actually notice that not all of these zombies are zombies. And he himself was saying, you know, oh, what could it be, as far as like, is it like a government drone type thing almost, where they're like putting it in there to basically have it be their scope of what's going on, which could make sense, but I don't think that's what it would be if he was just willing to throw it out in an interview like that. And then number two, I also thought even if that was real, that'd be pretty ridiculous given the fact of, okay, yeah, maybe there's some advanced technology going on here, but to have like a full blown real life looking zombie that can interact with the others that's actually a robot, I was like, come on, that's a bit too much. So I don't even know what to think as far as if the robots themselves are aliens, or if it's just that the original zombies are aliens. Like, it's such an interesting hodgepodge here.
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as the alien thing, I think if one of them was an alien, I think it would literally just be Zeus. Either he was an alien or he was made from like alien kind of DNA or something by people in Area 51 or whatever. And then I think everyone from there on down was like the Queen and everything were definitely just people like in Vegas, the first people he bit. And that's why, so anyone who becomes one of those like elite zombies, like the Queen or whatever, who I think is still a level below him, has to be bitten by him. Because if they get bitten by like the Queen or any of the other elite ones that aren't him, then I think they'll just be one of the mindless ones. And then I guess if you get bitten by a mindless one, you'll probably be an even dumber one. I think that's how it goes. It's just,
you just keep getting dumber and dumber as they go, and they all just know to still follow the leader. But I agree that I actually like what you said there, as far as that potentially Zeus was like, maybe it's the fact that there is something alien related, and maybe some crazy experimentation on the government's part of like trying to mix alien DNA with human DNA, and then we got Zeus, you know, and then that's the reason why maybe when he bites people, it's the strongest, because it's like this, he's the direct cause of that, and then it slowly gets more diminished as it goes on and on and on. Man, that would be pretty nuts. At least it would make a little bit of sense of it. Still makes me wonder as far as where the hell these robots come into play.
I don't know. I mean, like that's the thing though. So even not having like known about the robots before you mentioned it, this is just kind of exactly why this movie, despite like there's like you mentioned, glaring kind of flaws with just the very premise of it all. Like, but that's why it's things like this, just like the attention. Okay, despite how Zack Snyder sometimes overlooks like these big things like that, I don't know. I just feel like there's just so much detail and care taken over with the movie overall. Like when you can actually, now I'm excited to go back and rewatch it and find that now. What are your thoughts on that part where Vanderhoop brings up with Dieter and stuff, like about they see the skeletons and then they're wearing like similar things to, it looks like what the team was wearing, and then he's like talking about like, if it's like, I don't know if this is a throwaway thing, but he's like bringing up like, oh, maybe this is like a time loop or something.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
I did not know what to take from that. That was such a weird, I mean, it was a very interesting comment, so weird in a good way, but that was such a weird thing to throw in, because I was like, I didn't know if that was almost trying to break the fourth wall for a moment, with it being like, no, that really is what's going on here. There wasn't anything that made it seem that way. And I'm not going to lie, after seeing it in its entirety, I almost feel like that would be kind of ridiculous. Like, especially knowing that there's supposed to be the prequel movie and the prequel anime series. It's like, then why would it be so interesting to just make it a time loop where it's just them going and doing this over and over again? Especially if the only purpose is to get the zombie queen's head, I guess. What do you think, right? As far as like, if that were to be a real thing, like, would you be okay with that?
It's just one of those things. I feel like, okay, there's got to be some reason that's in there. I don't think Zack Snyder is just throwing that. As much as you can say, he's like we mentioned many times, the plot, it's like, oh, he's just skipping over big things. But when he does put something in there, it's probably for a reason. And he's got, I don't know, just knowing that we have all this like prequels thing going into it, I'm wondering maybe if these are all things like little kind of nuggets he's giving us to speculate on when we go into the prequel. Maybe that'll like actually touch on that. Like it's like it's sort of like it's telling us, oh no, this is a time loop. Because I mean, when it cuts to them from the skeletons and then it cuts to the different team members literally wearing that, unless it's like messing with us, then it's pretty much telling us, oh yeah, this is a time loop. Or else why would they be wearing the exact same things?
It's definitely a good point. And it's one of those where, like I said, normally I'm kind of all for stuff like that. Like there's a lot of times where a spin on a movie like that is kind of like, whoa, that's really cool and crazy. But for some reason, I don't know. Like, do you disagree? Because like a part of me feels like if they announce that is actually what's happening, I'd almost be like disappointed. Because then it's like, what are we supposed to just watch them just go back there and do it again and try to rob the place once more? I mean, is this like a Groundhog's Day but zombie wise?
I mean, I don't think that it's actually going to come into play that we're going to like actually see it play out again at any point. But I'm just wondering if it has some other kind of, I don't know, I guess impact on what's actually going on with like this like kind of experimenting that maybe was happening somehow that's like messing with time or something. I don't know. Like, I don't think it's actually going to matter in the sense for the characters, but I wonder if it just means something in the ramifications of what's actually going on here. And that's one of the reasons I like this movie so much, despite its flaws. I just think it's not just this super straightforward thing in a way that people say it is. I guess it's straightforward for a Zack Snyder movie, but I think it very much needed that runtime because he is digging into a lot of stuff here. And as much as maybe certain people are like taken out of it by the premise kind of not even making sense, when it's actually his movies, they really put you in like an atmosphere. And so I don't feel the length as much because it's like, I don't know, I feel like it's actually putting me in this world, you know?
Well, and this is nuts to now think about. We're potentially talking about a movie that is dealing with zombies, aliens, robots, and time travel, potentially.
This is kind of, that's why I think this movie is kind of like Zack Snyder porn in a way, because it's just like him this is him just kind of letting loose, being like, okay, this is like all the stuff I've had pent up. I'm just going to do whatever I want because finally somebody's letting me.
Well, and here's another thing to dig into that I thought you were going to bring this up when you mentioned about the whole time loop thing, which, again, glad that you brought that up because I wasn't thinking about that at first. The part that I thought you were going to lead into was, do you remember them saying about when it rains, the zombies come back to life?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Like another crazy element thrown in here of what the hell? Now we have resurrecting zombies.
So that was like the really dumb zombies kind of on the outskirts, I guess, right?
I didn't know if that applied to, just the dumb ones or to all of them. I don't know if they ever really
necessarily. Were they actually like dead, like they were killed, or like do they just stop working when they run out of like liquid? Or
I think the premise, if I'm not mistaken, was that they dried out in the sun, I think. And so that it's just when it rains, they get rehydrated, which I don't know where the logic comes from there, but it was an interesting premise nonetheless. I thought that was a really cool element to bring up and throw in of interesting, unique, haven't heard something like that before. And like how you mentioned about with the time travel stuff or the time loop, hey, this can't be just thrown in for no reason, right? That's exactly what I thought about that. I'm thinking, great, we're going to see it rain at some point in this movie and a flood of zombies just come at them. And I guess that's true. Not even a drop of rain.
I guess you can kind of chalk that up to like similar kind of issues, even though like something like a Marvel movie might have because it's like made as part of a bigger franchise from the get-go. So maybe they're setting that up for potentially a sequel or something, or any of these other things, I'm guessing. So it's not like it's there for no reason. Like that's how this world works, I guess. He's telling you how it works, but he didn't actually weave it into this specific narrative, I guess.
I just thought out of all the things, because I am okay with just kind of like creating the foundation, you know what I mean? Like laying it out and here's the details so you kind of understand how it works. That's fine. And even you don't have to execute on every single thing that's said. That was a missed opportunity in my opinion though. Like I really thought that would have been really cool that have it somewhere towards the finale, right? Especially when they're getting to the precipice of making it towards the helicopter to get out of there and they're the final survivors. Why not have like a backing of, again, a flood of zombies just coming in, because now all of a sudden it's pouring down rain, making it harder for the helicopter to get out of there. Just again, thought it would have been like a cool thing. Not the end of the world, they didn't do it, right? And definitely looking forward that if they throw it in somewhere else, but it was almost like, why wouldn't you do that? That almost seemed like it was too easy. What did you think about as far as the whole concept? Because this was another like brand new thing that Zach threw in there that was not done in a zombie movie before. The like pregger zombie, dude. Like they were like Zeus and that queen were about to have a zombie kid.
Oh, yeah.
How?
I mean, that's another thing kind of leading into that this isn't just like a virus per se. This feels like it's like a different species.
Yeah, that's
Kind
where I
of.
think he's really changing the definition of a zombie.
To some extent, you kind of can make up the rules of how it works. And so I don't think, I mean, they're still obviously on some level living. Since we're both big fans, I couldn't help but notice how, I mean, I feel like this is like the closest we've gotten with zombies outside of Game of Thrones to like White Walkers almost, how they have the hierarchy kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
You know? Of course, this is, I mean, it's more like traditional zombies in the sense of like how it's, if you get bit, then that's how you turn. I mean, that's one thing where I'm like, if I had to like go up against White Walker zombies versus any other kind of zombies, I'd pick them just because at least with White Walkers, one thing I'm like, in Game of Thrones, as long as they get out alive, they don't have to worry. They never had to worry about being, if they got bit or anything. That wasn't an issue. You literally had to die and then be brought back. But okay, going on a Game of Thrones rant there. Not that we ever saw it in that show, but I could almost see if there was like a White Walker queen, I could see her and the Night King like reproducing.
Yeah, I think when I first saw it, I was a little like taken aback. Not necessarily like didn't like it, but I was like, whoa, okay, that's really, really new. But yeah, the more it sank in, I didn't necessarily have like an issue with it. I do think that there's like more to these zombies than what we think they are, right? Or than what they're presented as initially. Like for anyone going into it thinking this is just a regular zombie film, it definitely isn't. There's so many more elements that it completely make sense as to why this universe is going to be expanded more upon. Because I remember when I first heard that, and I still almost have like mixed emotions, but almost the more and more you dive into it, you can absolutely respect the fact that, hey, there really is enough here to substantiate more products to go along with it.
Yeah, no, I'm all in on this. Like, even though I don't think it's like up there with his DC stuff. Like, I think this is just like, it has me intrigued, you know, it's something I can definitely see myself rewatching a lot. And it's just, it really feels like everything in this movie has stakes, you know, you never don't feel like there's stakes. Even if I were to compare it to some other movies, I gave like the same score, basically like Godzilla vs. Kong or even Mortal Kombat. Those ones, the more I think about them, though I had fun. If anything, I would probably go down on those ones. Whereas this one, I think just, even though it's also setting up a franchise, it felt like more like a real film to me than, whereas those ones upon rewatch feel more and more like products. So even though this is setting up a franchise and it has issues and stuff, it does feel like a true like vision and like a real like film that's going to be like, so I don't know, it's just when a movie feels like that to me, it's more fun to go back and rewatch, and it doesn't get as kind of like, I don't get as like cynical on it.
Yeah, it doesn't feel quite as stale as far as I know. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, I know. Even myself, I honestly feel like throughout the midst of our discussion here, would probably bump my 6.5 up to a 7. Hence the reason why. See, this is why I'm so skeptical to ever give a full blown like, number review. For my opinion, and again, for as far as for anyone listening, is I would hope that maybe it's like, hey, you know what? There was a lot of mumbo jumbo going on in this whole conversation. It was all over the place, but it brought up a really lot of good details about, well, that's why I should watch this. Heck, maybe that's why I should watch it again. Maybe there is more to this than what I initially considered, and is actually deserving of kind of an expanded universe to a certain bit. Because I went into it initially thinking that it was ridiculous that they were going to do that. And again, after talking about it with this now, kind of thinking about it since I saw the movie, it definitely makes a lot of sense that they are trying to kind of make more of this than just leave it at the film that it is. I'll kind of I'll bring it to a close with the thoughts of like this. It seems as though I have a pretty good feeling of what we're going to say here, and I think that for anyone watching could probably already anticipate this as well. But just for the heck of being crystal clear and giving our final say so, as far as for you, Eric, would you say that this is definitely worth taking the time to watch and you should go check out, or that you should pass it by? Again, I feel like I know where this is going.
Oh yeah, well, 100%. Because like, I'm sorry to like make it more than just a simple answer, but like I said before, like I think I'm excited for what's gonna come. Whereas like something like Mortal Kombat or Godzilla vs Kong, even though I had fun with them, I'm more cynical on what's going to come next, what they're setting up, because everything they're setting up just feels like they're setting it up for the sole purpose of making money, kind of. Whereas, and then I don't know if they're going to be good. Like Mortal Kombat 2 might still not be that good. Whereas this, no matter what it is, no matter what plot issues it has, whatever they're setting up and what they do in this movie, it's very interesting, I think.
I agree. I think that when it comes down to it, the substance is there, right? There's enough substance to actually feel like this is worth taking the time to watch. As I was throwing out before, this is worth taking the time to give a second watch, because there's probably things that you missed around the first time. Make sure you look out for the robot zombies and comment down below as far as what the hell you think is going on with all those. But anyway, I would say definitely the same thing. Absolutely worth taking the time to check out. I was extremely thrilled for Zach that he had a very good follow-up, to say the least, to the Snyder Cut, because I can only imagine that the pressure was there as far as what his next project was going to be. I think he had a lot of fun with this one, and I think for what it's worth, you all have a lot of fun watching it. This was definitely, I gotta say, a great time of a collaboration. I hope that it is not too long until we get a chance to do another one. As a matter of fact, everybody be on the lookout, because I will leave the subject matter up to the mysteries here, but there will also be a little bit of a discussion of sorts on Eric's channel coming sometime sooner than later, to say the least. So be on the lookout for that. Like I said, make sure you go check out his channel and subscribe as well. Subscribe to mine if you haven't already. Like this if you want to see more collaborations, or you just thought this was a good time to check it out. And we'll catch you at the next video.
Bye.
Peace.